Why is the B-2 bomber so expensive? The B-2 bomber was created in the 1980s and 90s. Northrop Grumman was awarded a contract to build a new bomber that could evade Soviet air defenses. They designed the B-2 Spirit with a flying wing shape, and it worked so well that the Air Force wanted to order more. But by then, the Cold War had ended and the Soviet Union had fallen apart. So they didn't need it anymore, but the Air Force still wanted a stealth bomber. So they asked Northrop Grumman to make some modifications to the design, and they came up with the B-2. The first B-2 flight was in 1989, and it cost $2.1 billion. Adjusted for inflation, that would be like $4.6 billion today. But why is it so expensive? Well, it's not just the advanced technology. It's also because there's no competition in the market. When you have a monopoly, you can charge more for your products. And that's what happened here. There were no other companies bidding on this contract. So Northrop Grumman was able to charge the government whatever they wanted. The B-2 bomber is one of the most expensive weapons ever made. And even after more than 30 years since its first flight, it's still the only stealth bomber in operation today. But why was it made? What does it do? And why is it so expensive? It all started back in the 1970s when the U.S. Air Force started looking for a new bomber to replace their aging B-52 fleet. They wanted something that could penetrate heavily defended airspace and deliver both conventional and nuclear payloads with a reduced crew. And it needed to be stealth. The problem was the technology to make a stealth aircraft didn't exist yet. But Northrop Grumman came up with a design that was unlike any other bomber. With its flying wing design, the B-2 would resemble more of a giant drone than a traditional bomber. It wouldn't be shot down by surface-to-air missiles because it had no way of knowing it was being shot at. But there was a problem. The Air Force wanted it to have a range of 100 miles, but the design could only manage around 30, so Northrop went back to the drawing board and came up with a solution. They would make the wings not just thicker, but also longer, which would increase the range but require more powerful engines. They also needed a new radar system that could be miniaturized and fit inside the aircraft. Ultimately, they were able to create an aircraft that could fly further than any other plane in the world. But there was one more problem. All this new technology was incredibly expensive. The B-2 cost $1 billion per aircraft in 1988. That's the same as $4.5 billion today. So why did the U.S. government spend so much money on this program? Well, they believed that the B-2 would be a game changer in the Soviet Union. Back then, the Soviets had developed a new anti-ship missile that threatened America's aircraft carriers. The only way to stop them was to destroy their radar systems on the ground. And the B-2 was the only plane that could do that. But even with all its advanced technology, the B-2 has had its share of problems. In 1994, one of the B-2s crashed during a training mission, killing both pilots. And in 2008, another B-2 was damaged after a bird strike. These incidents led to the grounding of the entire fleet for several months while safety improvements were made. Despite these setbacks, the B-2 has been a success overall. It is widely considered to be the most advanced bomber in the world, and it has played a key role in America's military operations. In 2017, for example, a B-2 was involved in a mission over Syria where it reportedly destroyed an Islamic State airbase. Today, there are 19 B-2s in operation, and they are expected to remain in service until at least 2040. When you consider how advanced the technology is, it's not surprising that the B-2 is still the only stealth bomber in operation today. It took more than 30 years to miniaturize the radar systems and other technologies needed to make it work. And even then, it cost nearly $2 billion per aircraft. But the B-2 has proven to be worth the investment. It is an essential part of America's military might, and it will continue to be for decades to come.